Hey everyone, thanks for joining us tonight. I'm going to go ahead and kick things off with a few announcements. I know we'll have some more folks hopping on, but just in the interest of time and to give our speaker as much time as possible, we'll go ahead and get started. So thank you all so much for taking the time to attend our event tonight, our Monday Guest Speaker Series. My name is Shannon Sheehy. I manage the careers team for CodeU. So I work with all of our wonderful technical career coaches and technical employer specialists who help you all as you are going about your career journey once you're done with classes. Before we get to our speaker, just a few announcements to share with you all. We are always working on building out our slate of speakers, so keep an eye on Slack to see who might be coming up. If there's a topic you're especially interested in hearing about, or if you would like to present, please reach out to someone on our team to let us know. We would love to have that. We do not have a speaker lined up right now for next week. We'll probably skip next week, but we have one lined up for the 26th. That's going to be on data storytelling. We're going to skip the following 2 weeks. So we have Labor Day, and then September 9th is actually going to be demo day for our session that just wrapped up. So we're going to skip that. But then we'll be back on September 16th with a talk on Agile and Scrum. So again, keep an eye out on Slack for more info on those. Just a plug, our careers team is always working on really engaging events, so keep an eye out. We just hosted 2 really great career fairs in the last 2 weeks. We have more in the works. We have demo day. We have newsletters that we send out. We are working on lots of really cool stuff. So again, just keep an eye on your email and on Slack to get info for those. And then finally, if you are in one of the pathway sessions already, so I think that would only be if you're one of our May session folks, so not our people that are just starting this month. So if you are in your pathway, so you're learning about a specific thing right now, not an intro, please be sure to fill out the career readiness requirement form in your Google Classroom so you can get credit for attending tonight. Just a couple housekeeping items. Please keep yourself muted throughout the presentation. There is a chat function down at the bottom, so you can use that to introduce yourself. You can use that to ask questions. I'll try to keep an eye on questions as well throughout so that we can get them to our speaker, and I'm sure we'll have time for plenty of questions at the end. So tonight we are joined by Mengen Gao, who's going to present on side projects and how to find them. I think I'm especially really interested in this topic. We hear a lot of times from employers that tech is very much a show me industry, meaning that employers want to see what you know, not just hear about it. So they want to see the cool projects you've made. They want to see your technical skills in action and not just hear like a list of skills or read a list of skills off a resume. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Shannon, for introducing me, and thank you all for attending this this talk. And let me share my screen with you so we can get started. Sorry, excuse my voice. I'm still like coughing from very bad cold I had like 3 weeks ago. So if I made myself coughing, drink some water, I apologize for that. So with that said, let's get started. So I wanna talk about like side project because this is something I'm very passionate about, and I can understand if you are in the software engineering tracks or any other tracks, and you are very interested. I understand that because you literally have the tool, like the power to make the things you want. You know, like this is very interesting topic. So a little bit about myself, and I am a back-end engineer, so at openly.com. So it is a premium homeowner insurance company. So it's a startup. We've been around for 7 years now. So my main job is working with Go, like the program language Go, to create APIs, to maintain all the code bases. And also working with like product and different engineering teams to create different kind of tools. So that's my main job, like 9 to 5. I'm also the founder of Echo Jobs. This is the side project I am working on right now. So what Echo Job is like, we are like sourcing about 60,000 engineering jobs, and for each of them, we'll just parse all the like critical keywords like technology they are requiring, locations, what kind of companies, all this kind of stuff. So that you can search with precision. Um, if your preference work as like, oh, I want to work as backend engineer, maybe junior level or with Python, maybe local or remote. So you can just search, like tell us like what you want, and we get all these jobs to you like immediately. So I want this. I want the Vogt Award. If you don't know Vogt Award, that's like local tech accelerator in Louisville. So I'm very excited to go through that process. So and then so why should you start like side project? So we have talked about you have the tools, you have the power to create whatever you want. And for the beginners, I think this is very good way to practice what you have learned. This is number one. And beginners, that doesn't mean like you just get into the software engineering track. It could mean a senior software engineer like working on a completely new language or tech stack. You want to practice what you have learned, so that's very good like way to practice it. And also, if especially for new engineers like junior engineers, like you want to go to like portfolio. So we understand that at the beginning. So that was one of the struggles I had like back in like 6 years ago, like when I started looking for engineering jobs, like, well, I have nothing I can put on my resume, and then it's hard to talk about what I have done or what I'm capable of, even though like you can do this kind of thing. So, but by building the side project you are passionate about, you can talk about anything that you have done, and then especially you have learned, and then that show the employers you are uh, first a person who wants to learn, and second, you are very passionate about software engineer because you're literally like making something without getting paid just to do the stuff. So that's the second one. So the third one is especially for like senior engineer um, or any kind of engineers, like discover what you are lacking. Like you might be a front engineer and then you make a project and they say, oh, I need to learn about how to make APIs. I need to learn how to make like resilient API, how to fetch data, how to update data, all this kind of stuff. And you might be a software engineers and they say, oh, once I wrote my software, I can run it on my local machine. And then where do I deploy that? So that's a little bit of a like DevOps stuff, like CI/CD pipeline. If you have not heard about that, that means if I can push my code to GitHub and then without doing anything manually, so my code will be deployed to the destination like server or any cloud destinations you prefer to. So this is the third one. So, and I would say most importantly, if you like software engineer or get into the thing, it is really fun to make something, like to see the things you're working on, like progressing every day, and then talking about that, and then see things getting getting created. Like yeah, so that's about that. And why should you start a side project? Um, but before we get into like how do we get like ideas about side project, I want to like address some misunderstandings on like side projects. There are several of them. Like if you search online, so others like a lot of people say, "Oh, how do I start side projects?" Then people ask, "Should I start a project?" So one of the most popular thing is like, "Oh, my side project has to be like groundbreaking, like so it has to be a new tool or the next Facebook or anything." The reality is like it can be anything. It can be like as small as like a formatter or something like that. So it doesn't have to be groundbreaking. Honestly, preferably not groundbreaking, because if you're aiming for groundbreaking, it's too complicated to achieve that. And also the second one is like I only have like some pieces of ideas, like some thought of that. This is very common because like a lot of people wants to get start doing things when they have a full plan, like maybe write a business plan for that. But for side project, this is a good thing. You can literally jump onto anything without thinking about, oh, how should I plan on that. You can just start the first line of code and then create a repository and then add stuff like day by day. So you can just, the most important thing is to get started. The third one's like I will start one once I finish my class. And then so this is one of my like struggle before. Like I was like, oh, imposter syndrome. So how can I start a project? How can I start a tool, making a tool? Um, I would say once you learn something, like even you're in the middle of the class, or the boot camp, you start thinking about, oh, what things can I do with what I've learned? Like we have learned how to make functions, how to push our code to the server, and then I think this is good enough to start thinking, what can I do? You don't have to become a like expert to do a side project. And the fourth one's like, what if it fails? First of all, this is not business. Like business fails or succeed, but side project only progress. Like, and the worst case is you learned a lot of things, which is the best scenario. So because which is the goal of side project, you learn what you have, you practice what you have learned, and you also discover what you are lacking, and then you can jump back into that to study more. And also the time commitment. So it's huge. It can be huge if you want to put a lot of effort to it, if you want to make like bigger applications for your side project. But mostly, I would say like it's more of like based on the topic. Like like I've learned how to make function, I've learned how to define a variable, and how about I make a smaller thing? Like what is the smallest thing I can think about? I just create repositories on that, and then practice it. So the time commitment doesn't have to be huge. Um, the last one is like, what if it does not generate revenue? I think again, this is not a business. This is not something you have to make money like with. And the most important thing is you are learning something. You're practicing what you've learned. So with all the misunderstandings addressed, let's get dive in. So how to get like side project ideas? I have three like approaches. All of them I have tested like during my like last 10 years or so. I've been using them. Like different phases have different approaches, and then I have my favorite or least favorite. So this kind of thing. So before very like entry level, you can write a very simple dev tools. Like first time being a software engineering student, and like maybe your first day in Code Louisville, the first thing you learn, you might be thinking about like how to define a variable. And as you learn more about web development or mobile development or anything else, you discover there's a lot of things it can be like automated. Like so, there's one simple things like you learn JSON, like JavaScript object notation. When you learn that, sometimes like when you use APIs to fetch the JSON object, it can be hard to read. And what if I write a JSON formatter? Like so, instead of a plain string, can I use what I've learned to make a JSON formatter? So there's a lot of tools online. You can search JSON formatter, and of course, you can use the existing like GitHub libraries, but it'll be fun to start from scratch. So like if that's too hard, and what about as simple as like URL decoder or encoder? So like as a web developer, you probably know there's best practice. You code everything in your URL so that we can present the data like precisely. And sometimes you have to encode it, sometimes you have not. But generally, if you see a very strange, like long string after the domain name, so that's probably because it's encoded. So what if I write something, I can decode it so it can be human readable. That's one thing. And also one of the most popular like project is like URL shortener. If you search online, there are a lot of these kind of tools, but the point is like the point is to reinvent the wheel, and so you can make your own tool so you can learn from it. So this is the first one. If you search like dev tools online, you can have a lot of good ideas from people. You don't have to find something that is completely new. You can just say, oh, this is good tool. How can I replicate that? And how can I replicate with what I have learned from this class? The second one is a bit of a complex. So this is what I have done like when I was in the in college or learning different languages. I remember the first time I learned about PHP. I was very excited about that, and then I saw like WordPress, and then this is cool. I want to make my own WordPress, and then I studied like PHP and on Linux, host on Linux, and they use like Nginx, the web server, and also use PHP. So that's called like ONMP LMP system, like MySQL stuff, to store the data. So, and this is probably like very complex, and but it's worth it. Like if you learn a new language, like if you learn like Golang, for example, or Python, you can see, oh, what kind of tools I can use to make the backend of it, and for front end I can use JavaScript, different like framework like React or Vue or anything like that. So different Angular, whatever you find helpful, to make the whole process working. Front end talk to the back end. User can post the jobs. You can post like articles or blog posts. So you can store the data into MySQL and also rate it and present it to the front end. So this is the rough idea of a CMS. Is like for the detailed ideas, like if you have your favorite game, like you're probably in a community that is talking about the game all the time, how about I make a blog system for a game that I enjoy playing, and then so I can gather all the articles and then make it available, like maybe make a simple static web server to host all the articles. Also like a forum for XYZ, whatever the niche you are talking about, maybe a forum for the game, a forum for a hobby, anything. Also, a personal blog. So there's like, this is a very cool idea. Like as engineers, you have your, I would say the desire, like to present yourself, like to showcase yourself. I think the most direct way to showcase yourself is to make your own, like maybe a personal blog, and say this is I made it myself. This is the tech stack. This is what I've learned. And as you learn stuff, you can write articles, post on it, and it will start ranking on Google. So how cool is that? So the last one is like online chat room. This is not really like CMS, but it's also like dealing with like back end, front end, like this kind of stuff. So like chatting room for different people, for different kind of group people. Yeah, this is the second approach. The last one is a data-driven project. So this is my so far favorite approach to discover side project. Like so there's something called data mining. People just discover different kind of data set they can get online, and also present that, get insights, and maybe in the future sell to different people. So I like this one because you're working with the data. There's so many variables you can play with, and also because it is data, you never get bored. Like if you write a CMS or dev tools, it works and you're done. But if you have data and you have to deal with all these kind of challenges and how to get data, how to store the data, how to query the data very efficiently, how to present the data, and how to deliver data to different people. So like when you discover one niche data, you have a lot of fun with it. So I have 3 steps for that. The first one is to find the data you are interested in. Like if you are interested in like games, I think there's a data set for games, or there's data set for very general public data. You could just Google public data. So there's the one called data.gov. You can find a different kind of data set the government has like opened, and you can play with that. I forgot to mention the first one. The first one, so you can also use user-generated data, like habit tracker, like for yourself, like how many lines of code I've written today, and just put in my habit tracker how many pages book I've read. I just put in the habit tracker. So this is like different approach to find the data. And the last one is like there's a lot of unstructured data online. So this is what I mentioned, like you discover the data online. For me, I took the last one, unstructured data online. That's why I started like EchoJob. I just go to different kind of company's website and then find their career page and then scrape all their data, the job post, and then save to my database. So from it's very satisfying to see the unstructured data online randomly, and then they are sorted in your database, and then they are very clean, and then you can query them very effectively. So yeah, so this are three approaches for finding data. And then the second one is how to get data. Like the first one we can talk about is to use API calls. Most of the public data, if you look at their documentation, you can find APIs you can use. If not, it's almost like a whole like spreadsheet of data sets you can use, just download to your local database and then play with it. So the second one is like what I use, web scraping, because the data I need is all over the internet, and I need to find an approach to gather data first. And then the second one, second problem is like to automate all of those. I will not go to each website every day to find the data to store in my database. I need to find a very automated way to gather data for me. So that's where like web scraping comes to play. So this is the second. The last one is how to present the data, and you can present them in charts. There's a if you work with like cloud or any the bigger cloud providers, they have the query stuff you can play with. You can make charts from it. This is really cool to see the data how they get sorted and then play with that. The second one I think might be the most popular one is like how is to make a front end web page for that. You can present them as static data. You can make your search box and then people can search from your database. So this is what I use to for EchoJobs to store all the jobs in my database, and then people can search that by all the keywords they use. So yeah, this is by far my favorite data-driven project approach. I would just use my side project to illustrate like how this works. Excuse me. So my side project is called EchoJob.io. So like I want to mention how it got started. So like almost 3 years ago, when I was looking for a job, I was working as like DevOps engineer at the time at Humana. So I got kind of bored. I wanted to get into the software engineering world. So I started learning Go, like Golang. So to practice that, I want to make a side project because I did not work with Go before. So I just decided to work with a side project and then to showcase my skill, what I've learned. So that's how I got started. And also because it is really hard for engineers to find jobs on LinkedIn or Indeed. If you see them on like if you're looking for jobs on LinkedIn, there's one thing that blocks me is like you cannot search by all these different kind of criteria you have, like what kind of seniority, what kind of tech stack, or what kind of location. You can search one of them one at a time on LinkedIn or Indeed, but you cannot search them like at one time. So you have to go through all these pages of like job ads to find maybe one. Yeah, all the scams too, and you have to find one job you're interested. So I just to see, I was thinking like, what if there is an API that provides me this like interface? I can just say, oh, I want to work with Golang because I like it. I want to work with the backend. I want to work maybe a like mid-level engineers or senior level engineers. I want to work remote, and also I want to work with preferably like a fintech. And there's like 4 or 5, 6 different kind of a criteria I have, and then I cannot cramp them all into LinkedIn. So I say I would just go online and find all the companies that are hiring like engineers, and get all their jobs So that's the step one. So find all the data I needed. So all the engineer jobs. So they are all over the internet. So I had to script them. So I also had a scripter in my server that it runs like every 30 minutes. And then every 30 minutes we'll go to the different kind of uh, companies to find all the jobs and store in my database. So this is the first step. And the second step is to like I have the job in my database, but if I don't claim them, if I don't tag them, my job postings will be the same with like Indeed or LinkedIn. So that's why I think I want to tag each of them with all the like attributes they have. Like if I get a job post from company A and then they're hiring like still hiring senior software engineers back end. So I know it's back end and I go through their job descriptions to find all the tech stacks. Maybe they require Go or Python, maybe a little bit of JavaScript. So I will just get all the keywords out and then categorize all of them into different like fields. And also the location, like remote or Louisville or Boston, anywhere. I'll just parse them and then put them in my database. So once I finish that, I think so far we have about like 5,000 companies we have now. We go to different companies like every day to get all the newest jobs, and we have about like 60,000 jobs. So once we have all those, the next step is to make APIs. So that's the next step. Like you have the scripter, you got the data, you can communicate with the database, and how do you communicate with the users? So I make APIs for it. I make API very simple. If you search like and keyword like location, keyword, tech stack, I need to make API that accept all these the different like we call it facets, right? So how do I search them? So the answer I discovered is to use like in-memory search. So I put an in-memory search software on top of my database. So whenever I got the jobs from the internet, I put them in my database first, and then also push them to the in-memory database. The good thing is like it is really fast. If you query your database, you know as your data set get longer, get bigger, so your query speed will like drop significantly. So I use the in-memory search software to make it more like searchable. So that's the third part of it. The last one is like that was like 6 months in. Like at that point, I already got a job at that time, and I have this side project didn't help me get a job, but I did learn a lot of things. After that, I think, oh, I made the APIs. I have all these kind of jobs. What about just to throw a front end on it? Oh, I said I am a backend engineer. I did not know a lot of things about front end. So and then see, this is something I need to learn from scratch. So I just decided to say I want to find the framework I am interested in. I eventually choose like Vue.js, and there's a framework called Next.js. So I use that one to make all the front end interface for that. I also use Tailwind CSS, like because I don't want to mess with like raw CSS because it's just easier to use like Tailwind. So I made a interface for that, and then that's where like the V1 of EchoJobs.io, people can just go to there, and then type all these things they are interested in, and then boom, we get all the result in less than like 500, like 200 millisecond. So I think that I'm very satisfied with that. So yeah, so like this is how I got started and where I am right now. And I want to talk about like what I've learned so far. I mean, you can see this is a lot of things I've learned. I thought about putting them in different pages, but I didn't get time to do that. If that's like hard to read, I apologize for that. So the first one I learned is like how to script jobs, like how to get jobs from online, static website that's easy. What about dynamic? What about is using JavaScript? So what about is using what API can you use to find together jobs from their job site? So that's one thing. And how to clean the data. How to find the keywords in the job post. Because because you want to get the insights from the job post, and then that's the value provided to the job seekers. So I thought about using like machine learning or AI, but that was 2022. It was not that good. Even if I used that, I think the bill will just take all my like salaries away. So I think that was a very expensive service to use. I finally just used very plain regex, but a very like sophisticated like regex for that. I just went to a Stack Overflow and then find the most popular like tech skills of 2022. And then just throw all the information to my database. So after that, I make APIs. So this is where I practice my Golang. I'm actually using Golang for all the scripters or and the parsings, but making APIs help me to understand how API works and then how to make API. The most important thing is like, how do you make your API more resilient? Like it's easy to make API that serves one user. It's hard to make one like that serves like 10, 50 requests per second. So you have to think about all this kind of stuff. So that's the second one. And the fourth one is like, how do I deploy that? Like, I know I was DevOps engineer, so this was easy for me. I like Google Cloud. I use Circle CI. It's super easy to use. So I have to build my CI/CD pipeline, and then literally, if I want to publish my code, I can see Git push to my main, and it will just deploy it to the Google Cloud. So that's what I learned and how to make different kind of like pipeline for that. And on the right side is the more of the front end side. This is something very exciting for me to learn, like to find all the tech stack I would use, like Vue.js and Tailwind CSS, and how to communicate with the backend, how to make API calls. If you have API calls, how do you authenticate it? Because you don't want your API to be public if you are, because people might just like script you, like like call all the like brute force you, like your server. So how do I handle authentication? I use Auth0. That was a new thing for me. I learned about that. And how do I create a better user experience? Like this is kind of like I think this is kind of a soft skill of soft developers, if you're an engineer. But it's also like taking a lot of thoughts, like how do you make your search box? If you have different filters, how do you put different filters? And then how do you make it in a way that is like aesthetically good and also efficient, so people would like to use that? So you have to think more about that. Yeah, yeah, UI UX principles to learn about that. And also what database to use. I use MongoDB. I use Atlas, the managed service for that. And on top of that, I have the in-memory search because like I use TypeSense for that. It's very, very cool, a tool to use. Like in-memory search is very fast. So this is what I learned about that. I think this is my first project. I started from the beginning and then finished, and then got like to the public. So let's see. So the result of that, I started this one as a side project and then just put like a few hours every day to work on that for like the last 2 years. And then this is the result we have. So we have about 1 million jobs curated from different companies. Like, so you have to think about how to update the jobs. And if the job is outdated, you have to set them as inactive or delete them, and you have to get new jobs. So we have curated maybe very, very close to 1 million jobs. And also like we sent about like 100,000 jobs applications just from like they click onto the job and then apply, and then we'll just direct them to the to the company's website so they can start their like application process. So I launched that in July 2022, and then you can see there's the traffic coming. It's going high and going low, but you get traffic all the time. Like then you can the most important thing is like you can get a feedback from people. And then you can say, oh, this is cool, this is good, and then I also want features of that. You just like it's a lot of fun to talk about your project with different people, and especially you have the positive feedback for you. And after that, this year I started like, see, I have finished this so far. Then I heard about the Vogt Award, so I'll just apply for that and then make a slides on how the made a presentation on that, and then worked on my like elevator pitch, and then just got in. So I was very excited about that. So yeah, so this is how I um started the side project, and how the ways I discovered to started it. Um, I want to share some of the resources, or when you're working on that, it's very dangerous to be, alone. Like, so like, if you can work something like, and then talk about that constantly, that will boost your ego, boost your like confidence. That will just give you confidence to share more. So this is all the channels I've found that is like very helpful for me. So the first one, like, you go to Reddit, and then there's like side project Reddit, and also there's a web dev Reddit, subreddit. You can write a post on this. Oh, I have made this tool. Why I did it, and yeah, people responded to it. So I post that like a lot of times, and sometimes I get. Um, I think the first Reddit post I post was under the subreddit like Internet is Beautiful. I got about 551,000 views on that post, and I think that's probably why I got this traffic spike on that. So yeah, people like it, people making things, and then you can also share your project on like Twitter. You talk about that, what you learned, what problem you're solving. So there's like hashtag you can use, like build in public. You can get into this community and then talk about that. Also comment to other people's like project. It was very fun to talk about that. Um, you can also write articles, what you have learned with the personal blog you have made before, and publish that. It doesn't have to be a personal like blogs. You can publish on like Hacker News, any like that's any website that's accepting like guest posting, and that like Medium, stuff like that. So the last one, I think this is the most important thing for like beginners, job seekers. If you can showcase your project on LinkedIn, your potential like employers might see your post and then say, "Oh, this is cool," and they want to have a talk with you. Um, and then you get to more like people to see your project, and then people respond to that too. So yeah, this is all the channels I've used to keep myself like motivated, to share my progress. Yeah, so like I made a lot of friends during the process, and it was very fun. So yeah, this is all I have about side project. If you want to check my project, like the product, you can go to echojobs.io. But I do want to point out the elephant um in the room. If you want to use EchoJobs, I can. Right now, I put a paywall on EchoJobs. That's like a different level on that. So like people have to pay to use EchoJobs. But if you talk to me, like say this doesn't cost me anything. Like I can give you free access to Code Louisville students. So that's no problem. So like yeah, feel free to check out my website, and then I'd love to hear feedback from you guys. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much, Morgan. Does anyone have any questions? Feel free to either unmute yourself or throw them in the chat. Go ahead, Lisa.
Hi. I had a quick question about with regard to like your previous slide with the sharing your progress publicly and everything like that. How do you like balance that with A, imposter syndrome, and B, like the fact that the internet is kind of inundated with a bunch of entry-level devs doing the same thing?
Yeah, imposter syndrome, everybody has it. Yeah, like so even the most experienced like developers, like myself included. I'm a senior engineer. I've been working for 6 years, 7 years right now. I still feel like I'm not enough sometimes. Like I think that's something you have to tell yourself, like speak truth to yourself. And I think the most important like attitude to have is to share to learn. Like so like there are people sharing online just to promote themselves, like, oh, my product. So how about that? It's really cool. So and people say, so what? You're just promoting yourself, your product. I think especially for web dev subreddit, um, people love questions. Like people love to answer questions. If you say like if you're honest, like just be honest. Say I just get started with the software engineering. I don't have a job yet, but I want to get a job sometime. Um, and people respect that. And yeah, so I think that's one thing to keep in mind.
That's great advice. Anybody else have any other questions? Looks like there's a question in the chat. Do you think a project can be too small and give no value, or do you think all projects can be good no matter their scope?
I think all projects can be good no matter what the scope there is. Especially if you identify yourself, like so like what you have learned and what you need to learn, or what you want to learn. So though, I mean, I'm not saying like you should pick a random project and then they will be beneficial to you. I was saying like when you take the courses, when you take the classes, like working with different like mentors and learn different stuff, and then you have ideas about what you have learned. It's kind of like active feedback to what you have learned. Like it's not, I'm not saying like random project. Um, so yeah, so if you start like seeking project from that angle, yes, I think all project can be good, no matter what the scope that is. Even the smallest you think, like even like the URL like decoder or encoder, you learn things from it. Like there's like you might learn there's like JavaScript function I did not know existed before. So yeah, does that answer the question?
I would just add to that too. I know from talking to a lot of employers, they want to see you all putting things into action. And that may mean like they want to see your capstone project, of course, but also maybe they use a language or a technology or tool that you saw in the job description, and you take some time in between when you apply, when you interview, to make a small project out of it. Not every project has to be excuse me, not every project has to be like big capstone project level. It can be a small thing that you're working on, that just gives you a little bit more practice and that shows that you're serious about this. It's going to show up on your GitHub, show that you have more activity. So I think Morgan really nailed it. And I think really you do want to have that really good, solid, bigger project, but the smaller projects are really helpful too.
Yeah, thank you, Jen. There's another questions in the chat. Lisa said, I keep hearing from everywhere, basically telling us to be a full-time content creator about your side project. I guess cause they think that's the only way to be noticed, stand out to the employers. How much publishing will process enough? So like the first thing I don't agree with this, because unless you are trying to make content creating as a job, it's not like worth the time. So you can learn stuff, and then the videos or articles you're making, for lack of better words, people already know that. Like so you're not like making something people don't know, because the thing you have make while you're learning, it can be there's like different kind of content for that. And also like content making takes a lot of time. Like writing blogs takes a lot of time. If you want to go like making videos, that's like super time consuming. I think that will deprioritize like the task you have. Like I think the thing is you have to learn stuff first, and then talk about what you have learned. Like I think maybe just the one, like sometimes just the one sentence on Twitter, what you have learned, or maybe what you think about this technology or that technology. I think that's enough. Like, so how much population is of your process? I think that's enough. A simple post, maybe 100 words or 200 words, just explaining what you have done on like Reddit. I think that should be good. So the goal is not to be a content creator to attract the traffic so people can pay you because of your content. The goal is to like to get yourself out there and then to engage with people. Yeah. Does that answer the question, Lisa?
Yeah, more or less.
Thank you.
There's one more question in the chat. It says, if you had to start your side project over today, is there anything you would change from your development process?
Not so much. So I am a web developer right now. So like I think there's if you were making one project, so you learn that from beginning to end, you will have the practice you have learned, and this is how you do things. If I were going to start a new project right now, I think there's a pattern I would use to start with the back end because I'm good at it, and make the APIs for that, post it, and then work the front end and automate the deployment process. So yeah, I don't think there will be anything different. Yeah.
Any other questions? Those were some good ones.
I had a question, another one. With respect to the the time commitment, because one of the issues I keep running into is I'll run into a problem that's like, oh, this would probably be something I could solve easily if I knew more SQL, or if I knew more Python, or if I knew such and such. And so like with how much you're with how much you have to, how many different things have to integrate for a given stack, I guess kind of how deep do you need to go when you run into one of those hurdles? Like, do you learn just enough to get over it, or
different kind of rabbit holes, you start one project, oh, I need this, I need database, and I need to search, so I need a cloud server. So all those things you have not learned. I think maybe the first thing is maybe pick a project that is will have the least hurdle, just practice what you've learned. I think this kind of project exists simple. It can be as simple as calling a function in JavaScript to get you the result. And it runs on your local machine. I think that's good. That's one done, the side project's done. And then the next one, we learn some SQL, MySQL, and then you think, oh, this is very cool. And I learned how to use the database, and then maybe you can write something to a query database, and then you have more tools under the belt. Yeah, I think that depends on experience. What kind of project I should start with. If I can see, oh, this project might require more things I don't know, I might just switch the direction and then find something I do know about.
Anything else? Last call. All right. Well, thank you all so much for being in attendance tonight. And thank you, Morgan, for being our speaker. Like I mentioned, we do have some exciting ones lined up. We have a speaker on the 26th on data storytelling, and then a speaker on September 16th talking about Agile and Scrum. You can just join at the same link. We'll post any other updates and additions in Slack. But for now, I hope everybody has a good night. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you all.